It was a weekend to enjoy with friends and family, doing the things you're supposed to do on a long summer weekend, but somewhere along the way, things took a very violent turn. There were a total of 14 shootings around the city this civic long weekend. In the end, 17 people were wounded, some of them seriously. By any account, it was not a normal weekend, but should we be alarmed? What can be done to make sure that we don't get a repeat of what we experienced this weekend? Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders is joining us now live to examine what happened. And there's that one question. Should people be worried seeing that over the course of 3 days, we've had so many incidents and so many victims?
Well, recognizing this is an urban city, you are going to get shooting incidents. This was a unique weekend, by far. It's not often I'll come in on a long weekend to talk, but this one was different. So I would say normally, no. But what has happened is concerning, and as the Toronto Police Service continues the investigations, some are making some very good progress, and we'll be making apprehensions on those. And others, we still need the appeal. We want witnesses to come forward and help us. A lot of people think that the next person's going to call. We go through this all of the time. There's a lot of evidence out there, but good people will call in and tell us what's going on, and so we'll move slowly as the evidence comes in and make those apprehensions.
Right, and you know, speaking of witnesses, one of the shootings, the one that bothered you the most, it appears, is the one at Keele and Finch at that club. You said over 100 people were there. Are you getting witnesses even from a place where it was very public to come forward and to help with these investigations?
Well, we're getting trickles, and we've got DVR and other things that we can look at. So we do have evidence that we'll be looking at that will help us move in the right direction. You can never get enough evidence. And of course, this one was disturbing. I'm hearing it's hundreds of people, so I was wrong. It wasn't over 100. It was hundreds of people at this event, and one person opened fire. And so we now need to figure out who that person is and make every effort to make that apprehension.
Okay, and what do you do about the people who are nervous in these cases where they see these shootings? At this point, it doesn't appear that there's a connection, you know, and that's likely still being investigated in terms of it all being connected somehow or being retaliatory?
This one seems to stem from a dispute which led to the gun violence. But people that are afraid, if you don't want to come in, please call Crime Stoppers, give us that starting point so that we can move forward. But we'd rather hear from you as to what happened so that we can really put the pieces to this together. You can't have one person understand that there are hundreds of people in there just trying to have fun, and then this person decides to pull out a gun and open fire.
Right. And to reiterate, you're saying that you know, there is progress and apprehensions will likely be made.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the men and women are doing a fantastic job with all of the investigations. Some 14 investigations with 17 people that have been shot between Saturday and now. Lots of hard work to be done, but we've got all of the right people doing it. We're changing our deployment a little bit for the next little while to reconfigure. We have a bit of an understanding of what some of the storylines are, and we'll be hitting them head on.
Okay, and when you say you're changing the deployment, I know last summer, we had that 8 weeks where there was a stepped up presence overnight. Is that something that you're going to be looking at doing again this year?
Well, it's not that easy. Everyone thinks that I can turn that on. The reality is if I alter the shifts, there are certain circumstances when I can do that. I have to give a 5-week notice. So that won't be taking place. But what we have done is we've been working as best as we can from an intelligence-led component. If you have a look at the arrests that we've made over the summer, the firearms that we have seized, and we are seizing more firearms, that is a concern. You'll see that the intelligence has led us to where we are. Right now, with the incidents that have happened over the past 3 days, some of them are just isolated. Some of them have some street gang subculture storylines to them. And make no mistake, we will do everything we can to apprehend.
You talk about seizing weapons and firearms. The mayor putting out a statement yesterday saying that the violence is unacceptable, but also once again talking about this handgun ban in the city. And I know you briefly addressed it yesterday, but is there stock? Should we put weight in a handgun ban, and do you think that would help temper this violence? Well,
there is no magic pill to say if we do this, that will happen. It is the sum of all parts. I'd really have to look at how many of these firearms are used from break-ins or things along those lines to see whether or not there would be a significant dent. But I'm taking my focus on those people that have guns, that are intending to use guns, and are using guns. Those are the people that we're pursuing. And hopefully the lawmakers will add more tools to the toolbox to allow us an opportunity to keep the city that much safer.
Right. The president of the Toronto Police Union, Mike McCormick, tweeting out yesterday that gun violence has become left unchecked in Toronto, and that's become the new normal, listing off the numbers when it comes to shootings and saying that Torontonians need to get better and deserve better, and also saying that you need to put additional resources in place but should have done this a long time ago. What is your response to seeing
well, I certainly won't do this in a public setting. I'm not interested in the divide factor. He's incorrect on quite a few points, but that's another day, another discussion. We'll keep moving forward. The results that we have put out this year have been good with respect to the rest that we have made with respect to keeping the city safe, and we'll continue to do just that.
Okay, so what do you tell to people then who are walking around the city feeling like they're unsafe? I know that this gun violence over the weekend didn't just take place in downtown, not just in the Northwest End, but actually in so many different neighborhoods, right from downtown up north to out east. What do you tell people who are nervous now, even when they're heading out to work again, thinking that this violence has spiked and will continue?
No, it won't continue. And what I'll tell people is that from the evidence that we have so far, a lot of these were targeted. We're trying to figure out the story as to why. So it was specific people shooting at specific people, minus the incident at District 45 Club where that was just randomness and stupidity. If you're law-abiding, if you're home at certain times, if you're unsure of the environment that you're in, I recommend, move away from there. If you're at a party that just seems like it's turning the wrong way, don't be there. There are so many parties that are going on a daily basis in the city where there's absolutely no gunplay whatsoever. So part of it is you've got to pick and choose your environment. Our part is to do everything that we can to keep the city safe, and it's intelligence-led. We've got some great men and women that are doing fantastic work out there, and we'll continue to do that. And the last piece is you've got to work with us. You have to cooperate. The vast majority of cases that we solve is because people give us that evidence to help us make those apprehensions. So don't be a spectator, be a participant. If you see, let us know, give us that evidence that we need to make those apprehensions.
All right, thank you very much again for joining us, Chief, this morning. And we're going to send things over to Natasha next at 7:10.